Now let's take a closer look at these threats with former CIA analyst and CEO of Berg Associates, Larry Johnson. Welcome to the program, sir. You recently said that
Hello.
Senator Graham is being investigated for laundering money from Ukraine via Latvia. Can you give us some details on that?
Well, all I know is what I was told, is that some whistleblowers that were involved with receipt of funds from the United States going into Ukraine came forward to representatives of U.S. law enforcement a couple of months back. And they identified, I was told, more than 23 members of Congress. When I asked, who's on that list, both Senator Graham and Senator Schumer were mentioned. So let's call it alleged bipartisan corruption. But you really need to go back and examine why Lindsey Graham has been so obsessed with Ukraine, dating back more than 11 years. Early on in the aftermath of the Maidan, and then his continued bromance with Senator John McCain, because there are no great economic ties between South Carolina, where Lindsey Graham is the senator, and Ukraine. So in my experience, having done a lot of international investigations into money laundering and product counterfeiting and other financial crimes, I always believe follow the money. And I think, to me, there's a definite financial interest for Mr. Graham, which would account for his obsession in this way.
Let's say that these reports are true. In theory, how long do you think this has been going on? You're saying 11 years. Do you think it could have been going on for that long?
Yeah, well, I think I'm not sure where the initial, let's call it, attempt to bribe him took place. Because I believe, but this stands only as an allegation, that he has received money and been influenced by the backers of the current government in Ukraine. I don't know how long it's been going on, but I would come back and look at the very first times he made trips to Ukraine and became a public advocate for Ukraine. Because, again, you as a politician, you're supposed to represent your people. You're supposed to do things that are the interest of your state. This isn't even in the interest of U.S. national security. And yet he became very passionate about it.
Yeah, this is exactly what I wanted to ask. Senator Graham represents South Carolina. How does that, fit into the whole picture? How does his interest in Ukraine play into his job of advocating for his state?
Yeah, it doesn't. And so I would credit the Embassy of Ukraine in the United States and the intelligence organizations associated with that embassy, that are Ukrainian intelligence organizations, have been very, very successful in working through the embassy and working through those Ukrainian front groups that operate in the United States to promote this. Because, again, the ultimate target in this, it's Russia. It is to destroy Russia, as both President Putin said the other day on Sunday in his interview with Pavel Zarubin. And then it was reiterated, I think, yesterday by Foreign Minister Lavrov. Both said, early on, we thought it was the difference between the United States and Russia. We thought it was just ideological, that the West is anti-communist and we were considered a communist nation. And with the collapse of communism, we thought, okay, that's out of the way. They'll come to recognize that Russia's a place where nationalism is celebrated. Christianity plays a very important role in the faith of the Russian people. And, hey, we'll be friends. No. The West continued to reject it every step and then began to align itself with elements, just as Senator Graham did with respect to Ukraine, and go after Russia as the enemy. And the vilification of Vladimir Putin has just been unrelenting. You would think, they've characterized him as worse than Adolf Hitler, and pick your most evil historical villain, and Putin tops them all. I mean, it's complete utter nonsense. It's divorced from reality. But what's going on here is view Lindsey Graham as a symptom of this Western disease that is intent on trying to infect and destroy and kill Russia.
So do you think that's why he's so interested in Kyiv? Because frankly, the U.S. has a long list of military aid recipients across the globe.
Well, correct. What I understand has been going on, and some of the Baltic states, I believe Latvia has played an important role in funneling the money. It gets funneled out of Ukraine into Latvia, then it basically gets laundered there, and it winds up in banks in the Caribbean, and it's offshore. So it is, at least those involved with this scheme believe it was protected, but it's not. So but it gets back to, is the U.S. Department of Justice now under Attorney General Bondi corrupt and unwilling to pursue what is a valid legal investigation? So it remains to be seen whether the United States will take any action or just look aside and get away with it. That's been the lesson of the last 30 years, that you can commit high crimes and steal money and maybe get a promotion, get rewarded, or you're certainly never punished.
As you've said, Graham made several visits to Ukraine throughout these years, and I'm being told that we can have a listen to one of his statements that he made back in 2016. Let's have a listen.
Sure.
It's our fight.
Ваша боротьба – це наша боротьба.
2017 will be the year of offense.
Рік 2017 рік буде ріком нападу.
All of us will go back to Washington and we will push the case against Russia.
So this was 6 years before the start of Russia's special military operation in Ukraine. What need there was for an offensive?
Yeah, well, 2017 marked the start of Donald Trump's term in office. And it was Donald Trump who provided lethal assistance in the form of Javelin missiles. And he openly brags about it, that, Obama wouldn't do that, but by God, I did that. And yet tries to pretend that he is interested in genuine peace and seeking a solution with Russia. Donald Trump has not made, apart from picking up the telephone and speaking with Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump has not done a single thing, not made a single gesture to indicate that he's serious about this. He could, for example, be even-handed in his criticisms of the deaths of civilians, but he does not remark at all when Ukraine kills civilians, such as the terrorist attack that took place on June 1st, thereabouts, on the train in Kursk. He has repeatedly condemned Russian attacks on what turned out to be legitimate military targets, but accepting at face value Ukrainian propaganda that those were attacks on civilians. He's continued to supply the flow of weapons, according to Dmitry Peskov, Vladimir Putin's spokesman, and has not relented on that. They continue to provide intelligence to Ukraine. So there is nothing that Donald Trump has done to indicate that he's really serious about bringing an end to this conflict. What has him, I think, so frustrated is that Russia's been very clear about its objectives, and it's not backing away. And either the West will acknowledge the objectives, principally backing NATO away from Russia's borders, or else the war will continue and Russia will create a buffer state to protect itself.
Larry Johnson, former CIA analyst and CEO of Berg Associates, thank you so much for that analysis.
Great, thank you.